We're live. Welcome to Reptile Nerd Radio. I guess we'll start out first today. As always, support USARK and USARK Florida. That's a big thing. If you're unable to afford a membership, please reach out to myself or Chad. We can help get you in touch with people that are willing to foot the cost of your membership, so that you're a part of everything that is USARK and USARK Florida. With that being said, there's something that's been blasted all over social media this weekend at a local show to me, and I feel that I need to say a little something about it. There's been a picture going around with a bunch of adult female crested geckos all in one small cup. It is atrocious. It is not the way that anybody should be doing reptiles. However, I don't think that blasting it around social media is the answer. People that want to see this hobby destroyed are going to take that picture, delete all the comments from it, and use it against us. Now, the show in question is not the best show, right? Let's get that right. There's a lot of things that need to be changed, but it also doesn't happen overnight. This is also one of the oldest shows in the country, so you have a lot more people that have been doing things in not the best way. I think this culture is changing. I know me and Chad, for one, always promote ethical. If you can't give them bigger and better, then you shouldn't keep them, right? So, with that being said, welcome to Reptile Nerd Radio, and let's get underway.
Dang. That was better than I would have done. So we got James with us from Reptile Gyms. So this is kind of cool for me because the first snake I got when I was getting back into reptiles came from James at my local show. And that's my mainland. So that's been like kind of the reason that I've gotten so into what I do or whatever. Sorry. Yeah. So it should be a great time. Do you want to go ahead and just like introduce yourself a little, what you do, what you got, what you're trying to do?
So my name is James. I started Reptile Gyms my parents called me that a long time ago. I started breeding bearded dragons when I was 13. Selling on Craigslist and stuff like that, back in the day. I've always kind of had that, the passion for reptiles has always been there. Always had people call it the hustle gene. You know what I mean? Like, I'm always going, always go. Sometimes I seem to burn myself. My wife always said. So I started Reptile Gyms, got into ball pythons. That's pretty much what I did for years. I just never had the space or the proper, food stores, things like that to have, the big snakes. So, my first love was birds, boas, and then I, was introduced to the Retics. I'll kind of help how I really made the jump into them full board in a minute. But so I had Reptile Gyms, which is good. I do all the shows here in like Northern California. I do LA shows too. I haven't lately with the kids and going back to work. I just haven't had enough inventory really to make the travel. It's for me to go down to LA and do that show. You're talking $15,000 to $2,000 in expenses.
Damn.
So it can be rough. So lately I just haven't done that. That's normally the Pomona shows, Anaheim, kind of like a vacation almost for me. I go down just like, we're going to hang out, see everybody I don't normally see, type of deal. But up in the, I do a lot of another show that I did that the new promoter, I think it's her third year. The the Vallejo Reptiles and Odyssey Expo in Vallejo. Believe it or not, that's like my best show I've had, in sales. Not a lot of people know that, but it's nice. This year there's no other retail person there, so I'm the only one. But to kind of a long story short, I had a customer that bought a Lucy ball python from me. I believe it was a Mystic Lesser. He called me one day that he was moving to New York and he didn't know how to get the animal there. He was stressing about it, and so I said, "Hey, dude, just drop it off with me. When you get settled there, I'll just ship them to you." And he was like, "I don't know, you sure?" And I'm like, "Yeah, dude, it's one extra snake. Like, it's not,
Sure.
we always say that one extra one, but with ball pythons, you can kind of say that, and it's not too big of a deal." So, like a month went by, I sent him the snake, and excuse me if I yawn here and there. It's always tired.
I'm always exhausted when I do these, so no worries.
Already like fighting them back. So, but so I sent him the snake, and then he told me after, he got it, and it was, safe and sound and great. He was worried about shipping to New York, which I've done multiple times. So it wasn't a big deal. And then he messaged me and told me about that he does graphic design. And if I ever need any work done, well, I've been debating on changing the look of my business, and then I've been having ideas. So when I was 22 months old, my mom passed away. It was just me and my dad for a little while, and then stepmom now came out to help, she is my cousin in a way. So she's my dad's brother's daughter.
Okay.
Uncle's daughter, so cousin. She came up when she was 21 just to kind of help my dad out with me. Well, during that time, my dad started a DJ company. He named it Smiling Gems because he was known as Smiling Gems. So he named his company after that. But when I was 5, my dad and I moved to Texas, and my dad passed away as well. So I never really had anything from them, So I think I have, I have a couple of memories, but I don't really have anything, physically that I can put my hands on from them. You know what I mean? So I decided that, I was talking to that guy, and I kind of told him about that a little bit. And so he came back with a couple of different versions of the new logo. And so the thing we came up with was Smiling Gems Constrictor. So my business is going to switch. Just kind of waiting for the right time to do it because it's, the displays for Retics are a little different than ball pythons. I don't run, cramped in stuff. And so, I'm going to be going to a lot of towers, the 3x3x3 stuff that I keep in there for probably the first, I don't know, about 6-7 months, probably, the way I feed. I'll kind of go into that here in a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's about a $9,000 display space. So I mean, it's not plus the banner, plus the tablecloth. So it's all new color. I mean, business cards. I mean, it's a big endeavor to do it. So I'm kind of slowly doing it. It kind of sucks because people ask me for business cards and stuff, and I just send them to my Instagram. And that way, if when I do make the switch, hopefully I can switch that account, to a new name. I'm not sure. But if I do have to stop it and start over, at least all the, I'll post it. Hey, it's next week. That way people can find it and follow it. You know what I mean? Because I don't want my customers.
Sure.
I don't want my customers to feel like I, dropped out or abandoned them.
You talking about changing your Instagram name or Morph Market or?
Yeah.
So or I guess all of it, right?
Yeah, the whole business.
I know you can change your Instagram name because I did it. I don't know if you have like a business Instagram or whatever. I'm not sure if it's a different deal.
I so long ago. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it shouldn't be too. So real quick, so for your display cases, you're talking about having the logo like on, like.
No. So I'm gonna do. Anybody that knows me knows that I'm a huge Indianapolis Colts fan. Being in California, there's kind of a funny story behind that. But my whole family's from Pittsburgh, so everybody's like,
Hey, Pitt.
sick. Why aren't you a Steelers fan and all that stuff? And I'm just like, because I'm the person that says, F you, like, I'm doing it my way, or I'm always got to be that,
Sure.
So I remember when Peyton Manning was in college, my uncle told me that, he's like, hey, he's going to be good. This guy is going to be, so I just kind of like, oh, wherever he goes, that's going to be my team. So that's pretty much how I became a Colts fan, is wherever Peyton Manning got signed is where I went. So I'm going to adopt the colors of that. So the tablecloths are going to be the blue, the dark blue that everybody knows. I'll have Freddie Hernandez from Mr. Exotics doing all my displays. So they come in the black boxes, but I'll have the for the how to stack your displays. They have the black use the box as like the stacking point for your displays.
Sure.
The blue tablecloth over that matches the tablecloth. And with the white displays with a gray insert. So, and then that logo that you guys got that posted. So that's going to be the color scheme. The displays are white. All the towers are going to have white on the tops, the bottoms, and then the back. So you'll be able to view the animal sides. This because I don't like how, some of the displays, the towers, you look through it and you just, to me, when it's clear all the way around, it doesn't really give that snake a good pop. You know what I mean? Where if you have that insert and then the back and then, that type of deal.
Yeah, definitely.
Kind of the view that I want. So, but what made me, make the switch is recently I bought, before that, but I have a house with a bigger, I had a house with a, big garage that was insulated. Luckily, it was in the, people call it the ass crack of California. So I was an assistant manager at a Les Schwab, so I moved there from Colorado. Originally from the Roanoke Park, Santa Rosa area, California. My wife and I went to Colorado. She went to college, so we flew out there. I worked at the Les Schwab there, promoted, and that's kind of what brought us back.
Mm-hmm.
So after a while there, it was about 2 years. I quit that. I just couldn't deal with it anymore. The manager and I didn't click. It was just kind of a bad situation. So I started really getting to the reptile scene there. I got invited to my first reptile show to vend, actually there in Tracy. So that was actually my first show where I was on the other side of the booth, which was kind of a huge reality check. I met somebody that helped me out, Jimmy Cruz from Ball Life. He was a big ball python breeder known in the industry. He was a freedom breeder. I mean, so he kind of walked over and talked to me and kind of saw that I had that fire, that, I want to be better and that type of deal. So he kind of took me under his wing. And my second show I ever vended was Pomona in January. So, I went from a small Tracy show, that had probably maybe 25, 30 vendors, maybe at that, to Pomona.
Yeah, for anybody who hasn't been to Pomona, it's packed. Like, I just went to Anaheim for the first time, and I feel like Anaheim's much bigger inside, but there's more space between vendors and more space to move. Pomona is big, but it's like crammed. It's so packed in there. There's so many people walking around. It's wild in there. It's like a zoo.
Like when you're a vendor, like my wife would go with me all the time. I had to go pee or whatever, and I'm like, I don't want to deal with the crowds. Like, I would just wait towards most of the end of the day and then go when it's dying down.
Yeah.
So I did the ball python thing for a while. I was one of the first person that bought the next level displays and brought them out to California. Jimmy Cruz and I kind of teamed up, and I sent the money for 10 of them. So I bought, those were the first ones to hit California. It was the ones that we bought. So, I went all in on the ball pythons. I got the pop-up banners and stuff. I think you probably saw that when you came to that show.
Yeah.
So, I did, full board ball pythons. That's what I was going to do. And I had a platinum tiger het anthrax, and I had a platinum anthrax. And then I had a golden child phantom tiger. That's possible het purple, or I'm from Jeff, so it's a lavender breeding. So it's het purple or white. Who knows? I'll prove it out this year. But always had the Retics. And then when I was in Modesto, I got connected with a good food source. I won't go into too much detail of that. Retic breeders, you guys understand why. You get a good food source, you don't really talk about it. So I got a good food source. I'm working on where I live now. There's a big chicken farm, so I'm going to be working on having chickens. And then I'm also 4-H rabbit. So that way get into the feeding a little bit, is my snakes will have the pigs, the chickens, the rabbits, kind of a good mixture. Pigs are great. Like they're a great food source. I've had great luck with them for some of the bigger stuff. One of my big girls, she'll put down 25-pound pigs. So she's on my TikTok, Bindi. She's the big yellow one. She was produced by El Segundo, and then I got her from a friend that just couldn't get her the food she needed. Like she just kept, he was feeding her, and then she just kind of outgrew what he was able to get. And then he pretty much called me and said, just come pick her up. You know what I mean? So I gave him some money just to kind of make it but it wasn't really what she was worth. He just wanted her to go to somewhere. Sure. And she was my first snake bite. She was probably about 14 foot. She grabbed my hand and kind of wrapped up my arm a little bit, and it wasn't fun. She broke teeth off of my knuckles and stuff like that. So, but it was one of those things, like I made a mistake and I learned from it. You know what I mean? So
yeah. I've been lucky. I don't have. The only mainland I have is my boy that I got from you, and he's 2. He's not huge, and I've been lucky with any friends that I have where I've messed with, larger mainlands that I've never had to deal with that. But I can imagine you learn real quick.
And my biggest goal with the Retics, and there's some people, I talked to Jake Klotz about this, and I actually got a golden child pied breeder male coming, and then also a Sunfire Anthrax, possible het purple or caramel male coming from him. So, I've talked to him a little bit about it, and my whole my goal with the Retics is to be able to show people that these animals aren't something that you have to fear and be scared of. A lot of the people that I tell people is, do they have the capacity to reach 20 foot? Yeah, there's a select few. There's a lot of that. You don't see a lot of those big. I can go out and show, I can show people a 50-footer on my floor in my room, and people think they're 20 foot. It's just people's misjudgment of length seems pretty drastic. But my goal is to kind of show people that these animals aren't these to be feared. If you know what you're doing, you listen to somebody, you learn. Having 1 or 2 Retics as pets is more fulfillment than having 12 ball pythons or having a room.
Oh yeah,
you can get 2 Retics with some decent sized cages that they're happy, and they will give you more mental stimulation for owning those animals than having a bunch of work. I feel like Retics are actually something that you work with, you'll catch that bug. And like Weston from Wildfire says it all the time, that his passion for Retics caught by wildfire, and mine did. Everybody advises, don't go from 1 or 2. I went from 2 Retics to 25 in about a year and a half. So my Retic collection soared, and it's just because I have the passion for them. I'm so intrigued by them that's why I'm selling the rest of my rest of my animals, other than my water monitor.
Right.
My water monitor won't go anywhere. I like the mind, of the animals.
You have a black dragon?
I have an Asian water monitor. Yeah, it's not.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I've always wanted a monitor. I told my wife left my management job that, hey, working from home now, I got the time. I'm gonna get something small, or I'm gonna get something big that's tame. So I was looking at.
Is he still in that huge enclosure you built?
Actually, I have a big 8-footer sitting in the garage that I have to go. I actually moved a year ago. That cage that I built was too heavy because it was made out of 9 sheets of plywood, and it has a 200-gallon water reservoir and 400-gallon gnarly. Well, yeah. The old house, I was on a cement pad, there wasn't a raised foundation. Well, this house is a raised foundation, so I can't put that cage here because it'll literally, the floor, the weight won't be able to handle that. You know what I mean? It's an older house. Right. We're in the mix of remodeling. So, on top of, a 3-year-old, a 1-year-old, working a full-time job, almost 40 mainland Retics, I have a house we're rebuilding too. So
that's always the thing that gets me about some of the people that I'm good friends with who have a large number of animals, and large to me doesn't have to be it's not 100, but 20 snakes is a good amount of work. And that's the thing that always sticks out to me is when you see those people's just real nice, clean, all the animals are cared for. It's I almost envy people's ability to manage their time. And it's like, because that's always, I mean, all my animals are clean all the time, but I have 9 snakes, and I don't have, I still struggle managing time if it's like I went out to LA last weekend. I took a train at 7 in the morning, and as soon as I got into town where I live, I had to go straight from the train to work for 9 hours, and then come home and clean because I'd been gone. So when that's the things I'm always trying to pick people's brain. How do you manage your time so well between, because kids is a full-time job in itself, and then obviously full-time work, and then
having dedication and passion for what you do. It's being, and like, I mean, sometimes I'm over the top. There was a day that I have to, like, I just went GX3 in Sacramento building all my cages. They're building all brand new cages. Got up at 4 a.m. I drove from my house. No traffic is like an hour and a half to Sac. Drove to Sac, picked up cages, sat in traffic for 2 hours, came home to see my son that just turned 1, spent a little bit of time with him before work, went to work, got home, unloaded the cages, and then I still had to clean stuff, and I went to bed at almost 1 a.m.
GX3, that's Riley, right? Riley Jemison and
so
yeah.
I saw him at the Sac show, and I asked him, and Grant's like, "No, I don't do any custom work," and I'm like, well, all right. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to have one room's going to have 35, cages, and my, other room's about 25. I'll have the capacity for about 60, which I want to have, my goal is to have some empty cages, just for stuff.
For sure.
If anybody who works with Retics knows that sorry, my son's birthday balloons are irritating me. So, sometimes you go to pull a snake out and they just don't want to be messed with. You know what I mean? So it's nice to have a clean cage that you can just have clean and put it in them, and then clean their cage, and then they can go back in it later. If they're,
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of retic breeders, there's a lot that I know that, they don't have 8-foot cages. Most of them you'll see, big snakes in 632s, visions. I have 8-foot cages that I built. You know what I mean? I'll have 10 8-foot cages. In my adult room, there'll be 10 8-foot cages. And I'm very transparent about it. I'll have 6x3s. When you're cleaning all the time, I mean, a lot of my girls, honestly, are anywhere from about 11 to about 15 foot. I tell people that, I go through about 1,000 pounds of pig every 4 months, maybe.
Damn.
I'm feeding stuff. You know what I mean? I'm not.
Yeah.
Stuff to not get bigger, So it's just, I don't know. I don't, I just go off what I do, like, and how my experiences, but like how I feed my hatchlings is I start them out on, if I have to feed them live, which I try not to because I hate getting it. It's a pain in the butt where I'm at. Is I start them on large mice from Dean's Reptile Rodents. I tell people that because Dean's very true to his sizes. The rodent industry seemed to, like, once all their costs and everything was skyrocketed, they would lower their sizes, but they'd keep the prices. Well, Dean kept the prices there, or his raised prices a little bit, which, I mean, I don't know who, I don't mind paying a little more, but I want to get what I'm trying to buy. Like, if I'm buying a small, I don't want to get a weaned rat. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
I need this size because that's what that animal wants, it needs. If I pick whatever, that's I don't have to.
I had to figure that out when I switched to a different company. When I started buying my stuff from a different company, it seemed like some of the sizes were a little smaller. So I had to, like, I figured that out when I ordered stuff. So then I was like, okay, next time I order, I got to order a little larger.
And what a lot of
people, it'd be nice if it was just universal across the board. Like, here's what a small rat looks like. It could be a little bit smaller, a little bigger. Here's what it looks like. Here's a medium. Like, that way you don't have to deal with buying a bag of a bunch of rodents and you're like, well, what am I going to do with this? It's too big or too small.
Yeah. And it's what a lot of people don't know is that, there's like a rule of thumb, there's a couple things, you want to feed more of a smaller meal at a sitting. You want to feed, out of the cage, feeding a big retic or even just out of its cage. And I'll tell you, I did that. My first snake ever I got, retic wise, was from Bob Clark, the tiger. And I would take it out of its enclosure because that's what pet shops told you back then. And I had a bad situation. I had a 10-foot retic bite my hand and wrap up my arm because his tail touched the tub and I was still holding his head. A lot of people don't, I've had a couple customers that want to buy snakes from me and they don't do that. Like, I had to call my aunt who's a nurse and said, hey, how do I get blood out of carpet? And she asked if she needed a lawyer, because I bled all over the carpet and I was running the place. It's like, it can be a bad thing.
You say she asked if she needs a lawyer?
Yeah. She goes, do I need a lawyer? And I'm like, no, my snake bit me. How do I clean this up? Type of a deal, But with retics, there's definitely a learning curve. And that's why I tell people, find somebody who has 20 plus animals that works with them on a daily basis and goes that way. A lot of people, I did have hatchlings that I were raising up, but I did have people reach out when they knew I was getting into retics. And I still have people from time to time from the Fresno, Bakersfield, that ask me if I'll take in a large animal. I have one that I got. He, not to get into his story too much, but he worked at prisons and he had some stuff happen there where, he's going through some stuff, so he can't physically take big snakes anymore. So I have 3 of his main ones. So I have Iris, which is I call her my track star. She's one snake that who's never bit me, but she's just, you got to know retics, how they are to really work with them, and you got to be fast. Like when I work with her, I'm huffing and puffing afterwards, and I'm not in the greatest shape, but I'm not super worn out. But she's 15, 16 foot. I believe she's, from what people tell me, she looks Jampea, she looks Slayer Cross. I've reached out to people in the nation, and I've had a couple of respectable people tell me they see Jamp, they see Slayer, but there's no way to know. With the whole dwarf, I watched Bob kind of talk to MJ, and he told me there's no way to know that really 100%, like 100%, there's no way to know that animal came from that island 100%. And the reason, like I say that, is like Clark was telling, people that, a guy would grab it, a trapper or whatever would, take that animal and then go to an exporter and then tell the exporter, here's this. And he goes, where'd you get it? He goes, the island that's, over there. You know what I mean? So there's some out there that are true, but there's, back in the day when they first started, there's no real way to know 100% where they came from. You know what I mean? And that's, so with me, I like the big snakes. So I don't really mess with the super dwarf stuff. I have a friend that's doing the locality stuff that he might put some stuff on my table down the road when he's ready. But I got into retics because I like big snakes, and so I don't really, I kind of understand the dwarf world a little bit because being in retics, you kind of have to, you hear enough about it. But, like I said, I have 37, 38. I feel like I'm kind of rambling all over the place, but I have 37, 38 retics, and I have 2 that are over 16 foot.
How big is the biggest? The one that you sent me for the thumbnail, did you say she was like 18 foot or something?
18 foot, 160 pounds. I bought her from Jeff. So, I was waiting for my animals to get, big, and I'm like, you know what? I want a big ass fucking snake. Like, I want a big retic. And so I reached out to Jeff, and Jeff's like, yeah, I'm selling this tiger het purple. Do you want her? And I bought her with like the intention of maybe making some Mochino tiger stuff, purple stuff. Just because I have some pet stores that reach out to me that want stuff like that.
Right.
But I just haven't really focused on breeding her, yet, because she's a picky eater. She only likes rabbits, which rabbits are tough to get, So I haven't really got her to cycle yet. But I'm not like, oh, I got to breed them. You know what I mean? If they stop feeding and they go, then I kind of make a plan of, okay, what male would be good, that type of deal. You know what I mean? Honestly, I just enjoy having them. I definitely have some projects that I, focus on, to try to get, to go. Right now I have a girl that's gravid that hopefully she'll drop a bunch, but it's a phantom to a purple phantom. Doesn't sound like much, but in my area, like I said, where I do all my shows, there's no Blue Eye Lucy retics ever. You know what I mean? And I was talking to people kind of, it's like, people don't know about this stuff where I'm at. Like, I'm not on the East Coast, or I'm not in LA, or, you know what I mean? there's not a lot of people that do it that know that the retics have that much variety. So, you know, and actually in the Rosa area where I'm at, I have a few local customers that have bought in retics that, you know, message me on Morph Market. Oh, you're in my area. Like, I didn't know there's anybody that does this. Like, they're just clueless to, you know, that whole world that, you know, it's everywhere. You know, the amount of animal reptiles that are, I think people would be shocked in, you know, that I think bearded dragons are like the third most common kept pet behind a cat. You know, it's, you know, my worst bite is from a bearded dragon. And I have monitors, I had blood pythons, I have a reticulated python. I mean, I'm a mechanic by trade, and I had a bearded dragon bite the side of my thumb off.
Damn.
You know, try to, you know, tighten nuts and bolts and shit with your thumb all messed up. You know what I mean? Like, it's not easy. So.
I work in a restaurant, so I'm frequently trying to cut my fingers off. So yeah, it's a pain. Like, and it's always because someone will talk to me, and I'll like look up from what I'm cutting, and I just try and cut half of my thumb off or something.
Sorry, I'm gonna go grab my phone charger. I didn't know my phone was gonna be this low. I'll be right back.
Yeah, no worries. We'll let her take over. She's much prettier than my face. I can never figure out this damn backwards camera thing, man. She looks platinum because of this bright light.
Yeah, she does.
She's definitely fired up, but she's not. I mean, this is just my Calato girl.
Wow. That's crazy. That light really changes everything on her.
Yeah, it's weird. Let me see if I can turn it down. How about natural? Now she looks orange. She's not a sunfire either. Hold on. Let's see. Maybe we can get the more normal looking color. Normal. I don't know. Yeah, now she looks a little more normal.
Yeah, it's crazy when those things fire up.
Yeah, this light made her look like she was platinum, which she's definitely not.
So
yeah,
I'll get back to kind of what I was saying is, like, I've adopted some retics that people weren't able to care for, and those are my biggest challenges. So when I tell people, when you get a hatchling retic and you grow with it, you know, I feel like 90% of the reptile population can handle a hatchling retic if taught the proper ways. You know what I mean?
Sure.
If you are a reptile person, okay, that doesn't mean, you know, all the reptile people should have retics. You know, I get it. Could they, if they really wanted to? Yeah, you know what I mean. But they take work. You know, they're definitely something that takes work, especially one that, like Big Bertha, my big one. She was great. You know, raised from, you know, Jeff Kelly. She was awesome. Bindi was kind of a challenge when I got her. She was insane food aggression out of the cage. And she was about 14 foot. So she was a big, powerful, hungry retic that I had to feed and clean and work with. And when I had her, it was in a smaller room. So
right.
With her in a small room, you know, it's challenging. So, but I was able to feed her, and then I think eventually after working with her and knowing, like, hey, I got food for you. You know what I mean? Like, she's fine. She calmed down, and now she's chill. I mean, she's probably anywhere about 17 foot or so. I mean, she's not as big as Bertha, but I mean, you look at her.
Still a big snake.
Yeah, I mean, she's heavy body.
Still a very big. Yeah.
Big girl. I mean, she's fine, and that's what I tell people. If you put in retics, if you put in the time and you put in the passion and you actually give them your time, you'll have a great experience. And everybody who has retics that does that, they all say that. You know, like, oh yeah, you know what I mean?
I think there's a lot to be said about, like, getting a retic as a hatchling or close to. Because unless that animal, like if you're buying an older animal, unless that animal's coming from somebody who you know you can trust, somebody who you respect what they do and you know how they keep and how they interact with their animals, you have no clue what you're getting into. And, you know, it's much easier to deal with like a defensive baby retic than one that's just not been treated well and it's real big. Like, and I'm kind of surprised that I've heard numerous people say, "Oh, if you really want a retic, you should just go and get like a good size retic and see how you feel about it. It's like, why would you do that? Why would you tell go buy a 10-foot retic? I know you want one. You've never had a retic. Go get a 10-footer and see, or a 12-footer, see how it works. I think that's the dumbest advice you could give somebody. Honestly, that's
fuck around and find out. Yeah, that's
you're gonna find out. You know, I mean, like when I got my boy from you, he's been chill since I got him. I've never had to deal with any kind of like learning curve. He was never defensive. He never had a.
Yeah, and I mess with my hatchings a lot. So even the stuff that I got from other people, I mean, you got to remember, I was fascinated with them. So when I had them in my collection, I mess with them all the time. You know, I have pictures on my Instagram of my wife's grandpa who is like 81, and he was holding my platinum tiger head anthrax girl, Cleopatra. And she was chill. I raised her from a hatch. She's, you know, when I'm in my room cleaning, which I'll be in there late tonight because I slept in today for the first time, my body just was like, nope, you're done. You're laying in bed, which it happens. Then I'll just have a couple of nights to catch up. But, you know, she's super chill. And when I'm in my room, she'll push. And she messed her face up, like really. And I was like, dude, what's wrong with this? I tried feeding her. I tried adjusting her cages or, you know, her temperature. And I tried all kinds of stuff, you know, from people that I respect. You know, like, well, how old is she? She's about 6 years. Well, she's an anthrax, so normally they want to breed. You know what I mean? Are there males in the room? Are there, you know, because they put off hormones and, you know what I mean, all kinds of stuff. You know, I tried, you know, cycling her. She went off food. I bred her, and nothing. She like acted like she was gonna breed, and then she just didn't. It's kind of like a false cycle. Aubrey Pruitt was kind of explaining to me about it. You know, it happens when there's a young female that's not quite there yet, but she's thinking like she's, you know, she'll go through all the signs where she's, you know, gonna go, but then she doesn't. The next time he said normally she'll cycle that time again the following year. So we'll see what happens. You know, I have a platinum anthrax, so I want to see. I don't know what line my platinum is. I asked who I got them from, but he never bred them together, so he doesn't know, which I get. Not a lot of people do. But I want to see what an ultra anthrax looks like. There's one posted on the Nation. I asked for updated pictures. I never saw anything, so I don't know what happened. But
yeah, I've definitely never seen it. So it'd be an ultra, but it had black eyes, and then do you get any kind of pattern change at all from the anthrax, or is it just?
I don't know. Nobody's done it that I've really seen. It was he posted a picture, but it was like a pre-shed type deal, like so you couldn't really tell.
Sure.
So I don't know. You know what I mean? So I want to see what happens, and it's, you know, that's the type of deal is like as a breeder is like, has this been done before? And then you look at it and like, is it a project that I want to pursue? I don't know, but I have 2 animals that can make it on the first clutch.
Right. I mean, you might as well then, right?
So is it something that I want to, you know, breed to make hets to do it? Like, you know what I mean? Like, probably not, you know what I mean? But I have the animals to make it in one clutch and not produce a bunch of animals that might be, I don't want to say trash animals, because my first retic ever was just a tiger from Bob Clark, and that's what ignited my whole fire. So I don't want to say that, like, all animals are trash, but there's a lot of people that produce a lot of, like, low-end stuff, like, not on purpose, but who knows, you know? I have a joke.
Well, I mean, if you have like 50 normals that are just het for stuff, it's just going to be a harder thing to sell, I think. I mean, maybe those are the animals that might be a little bit easy to move to somebody who just wants a retic because they like the way retics look, or they want their first one maybe, but it's a lot easier to, I can imagine at least, it's a lot easier to move the cool, flashy looking.
Like, it isn't like the ball python world. You know, a female ball python that's het albino is worth more. A female retic het albino isn't, you know, it's not like back, you know, 15 years ago or whatever that, you know, that was a valuable animal. Now it's just like a normal.
Sure.
You know, a female that's, you know, het ocelot or het hypo, then okay, that's worth some money. You know what I mean? So, which I'm hoping, I've been talking to Jake Klotz, and there's a slim chance that I might be able to work out a deal for a platinum tiger double het hypo purple. So I'm hoping I can get that female and get her raising up. And so, I mean, I'm
only on Instagram, so maybe I'm just missing out because I'm not on Facebook and all of that, but I really don't see very much hypos ever. And I think they're really cool looking. I'd love to see one in person because I feel like they don't look right on. As cool as they look in pictures, I feel like they look a lot different in person. you know.
They get a lot better with age, is what Jake was telling me, and he hasn't seen one. I think Mike Powell produced the first ever that Jake's seen, actually, like just a normal hypo. They come out pretty dark. There's the first yawn. I fought it back. With age, they kind of brighten. They get better with age, Jake was telling me. I don't know firsthand. I think Jake has a Platinum Tiger hypo, I believe. I could be wrong, but I think it's a Platinum Tiger hypo. I'm not sure, the male, but that he bred to a purple golden child.
Okay.
So, which that golden child too he has is gorgeous. I'm like, hey, if you want, let me know if you're gonna get rid of her. I try to find animals that are, that spark my interest, things that I like. And I do have some animals like, I have a head off girl out there. I have the Bindi, who's a lavender tiger, titanium tiger male, Latino male. I have some stuff that I necessarily wouldn't like go buy for breeding. You know what I mean? But I have them, and I have males that can make stuff that
right
desirable.
I love Moschino. That's my favorite. Well, it's that and Rennet Ghost are my favorite morphs. I think I really love Moschino. I know that it's like you either love it or you hate it kind of thing. Well, I think they're fantastic. And I think they look best when it's just Moschino without other stuff in it.
Yeah, and I have both too. So it's kind of a hit or miss. But I do have a pairing of the girls I'm raising up right now, but I have a Motley Jag, lavender Motley Jag het Anery that I'm going to breed to my Moschino, because I saw Bob Clark post a Jaguar, a Motley Jag Moschino, and I'm like, oh, what? Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, I have a lot of stuff out there to do different things that I've acquired, but my main focus with the Retics that I really want to focus on is the pies, the anthrax, and then, honestly, you just, you saw that GC, Motley GC, those are my bread and butter. I mean, I get pictures from them. I just got a picture from one of my customers, a Motley GC Tiger for my first clutch, and
oh, nice.
She's jet black. I mean, she's as black as this. It's nuts.
Yeah,
much darken. You know what I mean?
That's the kind of stuff that really catches eyes. It's like with ball pythons. You can make $10,000 snakes, or you can make pieds and sell them all day. Pieds, and I feel like with retics, a black retic will sell any day. So
now, I think you might have bought the last one that's without anything, but I have some with Sunfire, and Sunfire lightens it up. And I've had people interested, you know what I mean? But, it's just, my goal with the retics is to try to do it right, of course. And right is kind of a vague word, it's everybody's definition of it, and like I said, being a breeder, I'm not going to have, 8 foot by 3 foot by 4 foot enclosures and all that stuff. My thing is to be simple, but also to be able to keep the animals in the best health, quickest way that I can do it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so, now, shoving a big, 14 foot, 15 foot animal in a 4 foot, 5 foot cage, there's people like I saw at Jay's place, there's a 6 divider down the middle. I won't do that. That's not okay with me. But, having a 14 foot girl in a 6x3 that you clean regularly and change water and all that, I personally don't see anything wrong with that if you are maintaining that animal and interacting with that animal when you clean it. You know what I mean?
I think if they're just sitting in the cage all the time and never come out, that's where the problem is.
Yeah.
Because there's plenty of people who do smaller cages, or the standard has been 6 foot cages for so long, and so many people still do that. And it's if your snake just sits there and never gets out, that's kind of the big thing. I don't breed snakes, so I can give them bigger cages. I have less snakes. I can give them larger cages than if I bred them.
Yeah.
So, and I also take mine out. But that's the thing is, if you're taking them out, you're interacting with them. They get to go outside, cruise around.
I do, and
it's different,
I have local friends that have a bunch of kids, and I'll do parties and stuff. I don't charge people for it. I'll take some of my snakes outside, But Ruby, my big golden child, I mean, I've taken her to shows. Kids hold her. I mean, she's about 14 foot. I mean, she's a big girl. She just laid my last clutch. She's the mom of the one you got from me, but you know, she's in a 6x, but comes out when I'm cleaning. She's cruising on the floor. I mean, my room is 11 foot by 23 feet.
Oh, damn. Okay.
So for the most part, you know, when I pull animals out, except for like there's Iris goes into she's the Jamp Slayer one because she's in an 8 foot, but she'll go in like a big 8 foot holding cage that I have just because she's kind of unpredictable. I mean, she's that animal that will come back on you. She'll try to wrap my foot and come back towards me. And, you know, she's that animal that, you know, I take a little extra precaution with her. But when I'm done cleaning her cage, I let her out and she cruises on the floor. And, you know, I have a snake hook around just in case she gets, you know, feisty or, you know, whatever. You know, I have that to kind of maneuver around to get her back in her cage. But when I clean and stuff, my animals are out of the most of the time they're cruising around. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've seen you post videos of it where they're cruising around on the floor or just kind of roaming and stuff. And give me 1 second. I'm gonna like mute this and turn off my camera. I'm gonna go put this snake away and use the bathroom real quick. So, Russ,
I got
be entertaining.
So, you know, how much exercise time do you really get your big snakes to get per week?
You know, honestly, like on the minimum is they're getting cleaned twice a week.
Okay, so each time you have them out, how long are they?
I mean, how long does it take to clean an 8 foot cage and fill the water? I mean, I scrub the water with bleach. I scrub the cage down. I mean, it's probably 20, 30 minutes a cage.
Okay.
So they're out cruising around an hour a week, which is probably more than most.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And there's some times that, you know, I pull them out and they're not in the mood. You know what I mean? You can tell they're going to go.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Whatever. If you don't want to cruise around, I'll throw you in the cage, you know, over there, but you read them, you know what I mean? You know, but like I have some that are funny, like, you know, they get into shit, they knock stuff off. I mean, it's just, you know, it's just, I try to give them the best that I can, but like number one is a clean cage with fresh water. So if I have time where I'm running with the kids and I can't do that, well, what I'm going to do 100% of the time is clean their cage, fresh water, and I interact with them a little bit, make sure everything looks okay, you know, check their mouth, things like that as I'm messing with them. But, you know, for the most part, I like them cruising around. I like interacting with my animals. So.
Yeah, for sure. So I noticed you mentioned the Retic Nation a few times. Are you also a part of the ethical breeding group that they have?
So I honestly, like, I have barely any time for social media, and that's what, like, my biggest thing is Jim Hart of Paragon Exotic says all this drama and all this, they're talking crap about everybody. If they're actually taking care of their animals, when do they have the time to do that?
Right.
So if I have time, you know, honestly, I mean, I hate to say my social media time is when I'm going to the bathroom, honestly. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, or at work when I'm, you know, on lunch flipping through shit, or I try to post stuff on mine, you know, like, oh, look at the animals out cruising around. I'll post a TikTok or something like that. You know what I mean? And so I try to do the best I can for them of interacting with them and stuff like that. But I don't really mess with too much of the groups because honestly, I mean, you get a lot of people that think they're experts, want to comment on shit and, you know, things like that without knowing the situations.
Yeah.
And I don't know anybody, you know, that's the thing is like, I don't have time for it. You know what I mean? And it's like the whole Samson thing. Everybody wants to talk to me about it, but it's like Bob Clark was saying, like, you need to stop it, like, with that type of situation, because if the news and the press finds that, I mean, this whole hobby could be fucked. I mean, it's, you know what I mean? Like, he did it. He's gone. Everybody's aware of it now that wasn't aware of it. You know, I have a Samson animal in my collection. The way I got it was in an auction. You know, I think it was a Pomona auction. And he went out to the Pomona shows and stuff like that. And I heard about stuff from, you know, Jim Jolly and Jeff Kelly were telling me these things. And, you know, I was like, yeah. You know, I had no interest because anything I needed or wanted, Jim had it, or Bob, or, you know, people that I, you know, bought from before. So I never really paid attention. And there was a, you know, marble motley het purple female. I'm like, well, what was that? And I just kind of, you know, drinking and hanging out with the friends after the show. I'm like, yeah, here you go. You know what I mean? And I just,
yeah. And
then somebody told me about it. So now, you know, her name's Valkyrie, and, you know, I tell her all the time, like, when I'm cleaning her and shit, I go, you're lucky. I think I probably saved your life. You know what I mean? Like, so
100%.
Know that, you know what I mean? So he's but She's cool. But
So,
that's the big
out of everything you have, what is your favorite genetic combo?
I would have to say my purple Motley Pied that I just got.
Hey, love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
But so the purple Motley Pied is a big hit nail for me. Like I said, that Sunfire, Anthrax, possible het purple caramel, that's going to be a huge thing for me in the future from Jake. And then I also am, Chad might like this, but I'm working on a deal with somebody. We'll see what happens. He's kind of intermittent, kind of all over the place of, what he wants to do, which I get it. He's got a lot going on in his life. Helped me out a lot. But there's a chance that I might have a Rennet Ghost genetic stripe male. So
Ooh, nice.
So if that does, I think he might end up seeing what
taking the cake, huh?
Well, seeing what Anthrax does with that. So
yeah,
but yeah,
Anthrax.
That purple.
I've really grown to like Anthrax lately.
Yeah,
the more I see it, I like it.
I swear, like that's the one I slept on the most, and I it wasn't until last year I started seeing some of the albino Anthrax stuff, like I think it was like the Mocha and Mochino Anthrax was the first that I seen. That blew my mind. And just
dope.
Yeah, I thought the Mochino, because I love Mochino, so when I seen that, I was like, dang, that's the first like Mochino combo that I've seen where I'm like, damn, I want that. And then over time, I realized that I think the Mocha looks maybe even cooler. And then that one that I always forget what it is that Jake has, that like orange Anthrax. Is it OGS?
Orange Glow Anthrax.
Orange Glow. Yeah, that thing is wicked.
Yeah. Well, he produced Orange Glow Anthrax, and then he has the blonde Anthrax as well.
Yeah, it just looks really cool, man. And it's like Anthrax by itself doesn't do a lot for me. I think the black eyes are really cool, but it's really when they get put with like T-negative albinos where they really look insane, like that pattern that chaotic pattern.
Have you seen Weston from Wildfire Retics? He has that purple Anthrax.
Right.
That purple Anthrax Weston has is badass. It's nice. But I gotta say, my favorite retic that I've seen, and I mean that Mocha Anthrax, Mochino Anthrax stuff's cool. I like that, but that purple Aztec.
Oh yeah.
If you haven't seen it, look it up.
Yeah, I've seen it.
The more I see of Aztec, the more I'm like, damn. That's just cool, man.
I guess there's a bunch of controversy on, like, Bob imported it late or whatever. But then, like, on MJ's thing, Xavier pretty much said, like, Bob has stuff sitting in his facility that's been sitting there for 5 to 10 years that nobody even knows is in the country. Bob has been known to kind of, like, work with the project and get it to a certain spot before really releasing it, is from what my understanding. So I think Bob's had that snake for longer than people really knew about it.
I mean, there's kind of two ways to promote what you're doing, right? You can be very public about it and be like, hey, I'm working on this, keep your eyes peeled for when it happens. And then there's like the hush sit in the back. And then once it's out, you're like, hey, look at this. And I mean, I'm not going to comment on what I don't know anything about Bob, like that anyone else doesn't know. So there's no reason for me to comment on it, but if that's what he did, then that's what he did,
And that's
the dude's got a bunch of snakes, and he's been around forever. So,
And go watch that video with MJ. I mean, you'll see his collection. And I mean,
I've seen some of it. The only part I really watched was when he was walking around.
Yeah.
And, it looks cleaner than a lot of big facilities. I'll say that. Again, I don't know really a whole lot about Bob that anyone else wouldn't know, any other person wouldn't know. But I mean, it didn't look like total shit.
But all
so
healthy, like the ones that you'd see, the faces weren't smashed up. The glasses was all. I mean, taking time to clean the glass. I mean, that's a lot of people really think of that, but I mean that takes extra time. And if you're putting that extra time and care and effort into it, I mean, it's feel like that.
I learned my lesson recently about cleaning glass. I have two enclosures here, the 8-footer and the 4-footer, and my 50% SD boy decided while I was gone to shit all over the glass. And this is the only time I've ever had a snake just paint the cage. So I'm like, okay, I just got to take the glass out to clean it. So I go to lift the glass up, doesn't come out. So I had to unscrew the top of the cage and like pull the runner out and pull the glass out to clean it. And I've learned the lesson that now anytime I buy an enclosure, I'm going to make sure the glass can come out without me taking shit apart, because it took me way longer than I wanted it to.
Measure your glass and then just get it shortened where you can.
Or that, yeah. But it'd be nice when you're spending a bunch of money on an enclosure that it just does what you need it to do. So I just know next time to go through a different company or whatever. It's not the end of the world.
Online doors do pop out. It's
I
not.
One of my biggest girls, Bindi, one time she flexed and popped her glass out of her cage.
That's what
did it shatter?
Tempered.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it didn't land. Tempered's good as long as it doesn't hit like a hard something that doesn't obstruct the edge. And so it landed.
Okay.
It landed flat on concrete when she was in one of my Retics in my garage at my old house, and I was like, oh, like, you know what I mean, like ready to call the glass person. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know where the hell I'm gonna put her until I get a new one. But
yeah, that's where that having empty cages thing comes in. Like, I never really thought too hard on that because I'm not breeding and I don't have animals constantly coming in and going out. But it's like, yeah, even if I just had one empty cage, where for emergency situations or when I'm cleaning, so I don't have to put snakes in tubs, like it's a pain in the ass to put my mainland that I got from you. He's probably, if I had to guess, like 9 foot. It's kind of hard to get a tub that's big enough where it's like easy for me to just take him out and put him in a tub. I'd like to have something bigger.
Yeah, I mean, you can use like the big yellow top stuff. You slide it, this, like away. You know what I mean? So then as you slide in, you slide it back. You know what I mean? I'll do that if I'm going to soak animals or something like that. Or like I was telling Russ, like most of my animals come out, and when I'm cleaning a cage, it'll take me about 20 minutes at minimum to clean their cage. Clean the glass, put the new paper in there, and I'll like scrub it down with bleach. I scrub the water bowl down. I wipe everything back down. Then I clean the glass. I let it dry before you put the new paper in. And it's a 20-30 minute process. So normally my animals are cruising around, while I'm doing that. Unless they like, if they, poop and they go through it and all that stuff, I'll do like an iodine bath like Weston does, to kind of clean it. And but then I pull them out and I use a towel to kind of dry them off, and then I kind of play with them. I don't feel bad, but I definitely have a few animals that I spend a little more quality time with. You know what I mean? But
sure.
I think everybody has that. It's just kind of a part of being I was able to clean you and you didn't flip out and turn into a freaking mess and destroy your cage and knock everything off, and you're it's the biggest thing is stress the animals out too. And like there's days that like we don't want to be messed with and go for a walk or whatever. Same thing with the snakes and Retics that big snakes with a big personality. So if there's ones that I have that are just not in the mood, then yeah, they go in my big 8-foot holding cage while I clean. I mean, it's just go 8 by 3 by 2 feet tall, and they're cruising around and checking it out. And I mean, it's not it's just there's keepers and there's breeders. You know what I mean? And that's the biggest thing. The breeding aspect of it is I don't know if I was ruined by it, but seeing a baby pop out of an egg that you helped create, that was your vision or something like that, it's addicting. I mean, it is. You know what I mean? So, but this hobby needs both sides, and that's what a lot of people don't. I don't think everybody wants to beat up about cage sizing and stuff like that, which I believe it's important. I'm not saying it's not, but being a breeder, if you haven't really bred any animals at a larger scale, then it's a good idea to like learn about that. Like what does it entail? You know what I mean? Because there's a different cage setup for what you do, and there's a different cage setup for what breeders do. That makes it easy for the animal and comfortable and safer. There's a lot that goes into it on both sides, but there's definitely a place for both of it in the hobby, and it needs to be. You know what I mean? You got to have people that have big naturalistic enclosures and stuff like that. And then you got to have us like breeders and stuff, because you guys wouldn't have anything to put in those cages if it wasn't for us.
Yeah, you got to get your cool shit from somewhere,
And that's the thing.
And it's pretty easy too. Is like you can decide who you buy some from. It's not it's not like I always say, like you choose where your money goes, who your money goes. So if you really just don't support them, don't give them your money, get something from somewhere else. It's not that, unless it's like the only one in the world or they're the only one working with it, which isn't all that common because generally with everything there's more than one person working with it.
You know, life happens. You know what I mean? With you have kids, and I mean, I had a leak under my house. My shower wasn't working, and my kids were like, my 1-year-old was just born. There was a time I didn't get out of my retake room for. It's gonna happen, but it was a long 9-hour day to get it back to where I want it. You know what I mean? But like that's the thing is when you have a large scale animals, it happens. Like it, you know. But you need to make sure that you don't go past what you can do in a day or 2 days to get back on track.
Yeah, I mean, I hurt my back a while back just doing normal life things, and like I said, I have 9 snakes, and it was kind of a pain in the ass because my back was killing me like every day. So it's sometimes, and I never considered that. You know, I thought I wanted more snakes than I had. I love mainlands, so I was like, man, you know, I want more mainlands. And those are all things to consider when you're getting. I mean, maybe if it's a smaller snake, it's a little easier to deal with, but
like
you got to consider that, like where the space of your home. Do you have the space in your home? Do you have the time? Are you really ready to deal with a bunch of larger snakes? If you get hurt, you hurt your back or your shoulder or something, how is it going to get clean? Because I do everything by myself. So for people who have more snakes than me, if you do everything by yourself, what do you do when you're hurt? And where's the money come from when your car breaks down or your house, you know, you had to repair your house and stuff? There's so much more that goes into it than just
and that's the thing.
Cool snakes in boxes. And
I've been a mechanic for a long time. I've busted my back. You know, there's days I can hardly stand up. You know, my legs hurt, my fucking back and shit. And my wife laughs at me, but I'll slip on my Crocs and I'll go out there and clean hatchlings or something as long as I can, you know. And that's, I don't know, you know, my buddy Dean from Dean's Reptiles and Rodents, you know, he's the same way. I mean, he works 10, 12-hour freaking days as a concrete worker, and then he's cleaning his rodents. You know, he'll have 20, 30,000 rodents at a time that he does that whole facility. Almost, you know, his wife helps him with the facility and the snakes and stuff, but he's doing a lot of it by himself. I mean, it's doing snakes and doing stuff. I mean, but what people don't understand is like, yeah, the retics, you know, cleaning them all the time, and oh my gosh, that's so much work. That's my therapy. Shoveling snake shit is my therapy. Like I go out there, I turn on a podcast or something like that. You know, I do a lot of like, you know, no offense to you guys, but I watch a lot of the, you know, the retic radio from Jake. You know, I've seen a lot of those episodes more and more because
I've listened to and watched some of those like 10 times each, you know.
But I like the approach Jake has on it. You know what I mean? Like, you know, Jake is an older school keeper. You know what I mean? Like, you know, he's been doing it for about 20 years, I think, roughly. You know, so he's seen the retic world grow, and that's what like Bob had a good. Everybody says, you know, oh, retics should live, you know, 20 to 40 years and all this stuff. We haven't really been keeping them in captivity long enough to know what their true lifespan is. You know, Bob's like, I've hatched them and I've seen them, you know, die in 20 years. You know, and the thing is like what people don't know is reptiles are just like us. They have cancers, they have diseases, they have, no matter what you do, no, the biggest cage, cleaning them once a day, changing their water twice a day. I mean, does it help? Of course. But they can still get cancers. They can still have diseases, hereditary.
Sure.
It happens. So
I actually just had a girl that I know lost a 2-year-old ball python the other day. Seemed totally healthy, always ate, you know, everything. And then she did like the necropsy, whatever. She had like her vet do that or whatever, and they said it just had like some kind of heart condition. I don't know enough about like the internals going ons of an animal, but yeah, it had like some kind of heart condition. Shit happens. Yeah. Animals might seem just like people. Like a person could seem totally healthy, and then just
I had a customer
not wake up.
Roseville, you know, he bought a retic from me fucking 2 years ago, and it was before I produced my own stuff. And he showed me a picture, and I know who it came from. It came from a great person, like, you know, like yours did, you know. And he had it outside early morning. It was like 80 to 82 degrees, cruising on the grass. You could see he took great care of this thing. It was a big part of his life. And like went and brought it inside when it started getting warm, and it died. Like just rolled over, died. He has no clue what happened. Did a spider bite it? I don't know. He was devastated. And he was kind of looking around, and he like looked at
What?
Sorry, that tripped me out.
I saw
That one's kind of big.
the oldest ball python I know of is Nick from Renowned Reptiles, has a 25, 28-year-old male.
Yeah, I know a girl who has one that's like 23 or something.
So
It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's cool.
And he was like looking, he was like super bummed. And I have, a bunch of not a bunch, but I saw like 3 or 4 Motley Tigers, and he really liked one of them. And I just gave it to him, and he's just like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude. Like, you bought something for me. I do this because I like the animals, but putting the animals in a good home is more important than, that Golden Child Motley for me. Those are online for $1,500. I have them priced at a certain price for people that I can kind of, I've been doing it a little long enough that I can kind of tell if somebody's gonna take care of that animal. You know what I mean? So
Sure. Yeah.
I had a customer at the Vallejo show, and he wanted a Motley GC Sun, and she wanted a Orange Glow GC Sunfire, and they were back and forth. I mean, it's about $2,000 in snakes, and they had anacondas, they had monitors, it was just, they were wanting to get retics, but nobody in the shows up in this area ever have them, and they don't really like buying online people they don't know or don't talk to, and you know what I mean? And they don't make it down to the LA show because it's tough for them with work to take that much time off to drive down there or fly down there. You know what I mean? It's kind of a bigger deal in California,
No, for sure.
It takes 10 hours or whatever it is to drive, but so, I told them, I said, if you guys want both, I'll do 15 for them. And they're like, what? And I just like, yeah, you guys, I know these animals are going to be taken care of and they're going to thrive. And, you guys are happy. I'm happy with that. I mean, that's, I think what it's about. It's, I breed snakes. Yeah. You know what I mean? Do I breed retics, which is kind of, in some cases frowned upon in certain areas? Yeah. But, I've talked to people and kind of what I do and how I approach pairing stuff, and they don't see anything wrong with how I do it. You know what I mean? And it's not like I'm talking to somebody who has 4 or 5 and I'm, what their opinion is. I mean, I'm talking to Jake Klotz, Jeff Kelly from El Segundo Pythons, Jim Jolly from Jim's House of Retics, people that have, many, many years in this industry that have seen it, up and down and things like that. Getting their opinions on, hey, would this be good or what's that? Oh yeah, dude, those are good. That's, you're gonna get some lower end stuff, but that's how you get new people into it. I mean, I'm sorry, there is a place in the market for a Sunfire or a Tiger. Like, people may not be able to afford $1,000 snake, but they can afford, a $200 snake and a $600 enclosure. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So.
Yeah, and everyone has a different opinion of what's cool looking too. So there's a need for a variety, which we have. I don't think that every single person needs to breed like, all the same stuff, but there's definitely a need for variety,
Yeah, and I mean, and that's the biggest thing they're saying, like, breeding tiger to tiger and making super tigers, and you're making the best thing ever. Like, no, like that's not a smart breeding plan. You know what I mean? Like, my last clutch was a GC at white bred to an Orange Gold Motley Sun. Now, is it anything that's like breaking history books and doing anything? No, but excuse me, but everything in that clutch is stuff that is desired. You look on Morph Market and you don't see a lot of it.
Sure.
How many GC Motleys are on Morph Market right now?
Oh shit, I don't know.
Maybe it's mine.
I seen one. Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't know.
There's that, and then there's Orange Glow GC Suns. They're cool. Lavender combos are cool. But I have stuff on Morph Market just to show my customers a variety. Because it's an easy platform to do it with price. But a lot of my most of my snakes are sold, especially my retics, are at shows because there's not a lot of retic vendors. I mean, there's people that have them that got them from wholesales or things like that. But I try to tell people, if you're gonna buy a big snake or a monitor or something like that, buy it from the breeder, somebody you can talk to about behavior or how to raise it or what do you guys do or how do you guys feed this or things like that.
Yeah, and someone you could reach out to if you need help. I didn't really talk to much of anybody when I got my first retic. I had a retic I had actually two for quite a while before I ever started making friends who, friends that I could go to with questions and stuff. And luckily I didn't have any issues because I, did enough research prior and then did a ton when I had them. But that's not always how it goes, and it really pays to have people that you can bounce ideas off or questions, And a good breeder will do that. A good breeder will have that conversation with you, and help you.
And
so
my communication, I've always learned, I have a big background in sales and customer service, and people are buying a snake from you, but they're also for your knowledge. So your work doesn't stop at the sales, in my opinion. I'll see people post pictures and stuff, and I'll reach out. The animal looks great. How's it doing? You know what I mean? Are you guys everything good? Like kind of checking in on your product in a way. And
right.
I have one customer that I bought a tiger from me, and he's like, "Oh, it's it's in a cage. And I don't really mess with it too much." I'm like, "Do you need me to So I kind of talked to him a little bit, and there might be room for me to kind of go and show him how to interact with that animal. You know what I mean? So in a way that they both can relate. I have another customer that bought a GC Motley from me. And she had boas in the past and, a couple of ball pythons, but never a retic. But she loved this. I let her hold one, and she fell in love with the thing. And so I told her, I said, it's not just like any other snake. I mean, you got to hold them. You can't just put them in a cage and expect them to be totally fine. They need the interaction you played with and all that stuff. And she sends me pictures all the time, and her and that snake are doing great. I mean, they're adapted really well. She's having a lot of fun with it. She's got a big, tall, like naturalistic, style enclosure that she's climbing on. And, you know what I mean? It's just, and it's growing. I mean, she's probably about 9 foot or so, the snake. And she's feeding her pretty good, but that's fine. I asked her, "You have anything?" I was like, "No, just like you said, I touch her to kind of turn her food mode off. She turns her head pretty much right away and starts cruising. Then I pick her up and she's totally fine." So I taught her kind of how to, interact with that animal, and she does it all the time. And then now she's like, "Yeah, I don't even really she's thinking about selling the other animal she has because she doesn't really mess with it, And I tell people that all the time. It's like you get a retic and, Chad, you were telling me that you're trying to, home some of the boas that you have. It's like when you get into retics, they take over your fascination. I mean, it's nuts. Working with the retic or working with a large number of them, you really see that, most other animals are just boring. It's just, I'm saying that in the best of way. I'm not trying to.
I think that, what else? I've messed with a lot of snakes. I've owned quite a few different kinds of snakes over the years, and I have friends who have some, that I've messed with. And what else is going to be that enjoyable? I mean, I think the dry marcon are really cool. I've had some fun holding those, but what, a cobra? You're gonna get a king cobra? You know what I mean? What else is it that you're gonna interact with? It's gonna be.
That's what I tell people. There's all the scientific stuff and things like that. I admit that openly. Riley will start talking to me at GX3, and I just look at Riley. I'm like, dude, you're speaking Chinese and I speak English, bro. I'm just, and he laughs at me, but it's just, I've never been somebody to act like I know what I'm talking about. But one thing that I do that I've heard many times, that there's 3 snakes that have a very large functioning. It's the king cobra, subspecies of indigos, like the black indigo or whatever that, whatever. And then the reticulated python.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Dry marcon is just the family of snakes that the indigos are in or whatever.
Okay, yeah. So
they're super cool. I've only messed with 2, but they're real. They seem real keyed in, real intelligent.
Yeah.
But there's not there's really nothing that's like a retic. Really, there's not a lot out there.
And well, I could argue that one, but I won't. But
I feel like my retic's smarter than a lot of people I know. Like a lot of people I know.
I think
I
think my retics are very, very smart, but I mean, just based off of observations I've made in the past couple of weeks, there are some things that I could argue there.
I mean, I'll compare. Water monitors are probably one of the smartest, but I'm just like on the snake world.
Yeah,
that's my thing. And that's the thing is there's a lot of he say she say type stuff. Who knows what's all true, but what makes us all different as people is we all have our own beliefs, and the only thing we do different things. So we may not like what you do, or you may not like what I do, whatever. But as long as we're all, not harmful to each other and the animals and stuff like that, I feel like we can all blend together. And that's my personal, opinion. Like, I don't really knock keepers. I don't, we're at the Roseville show? Might have been Vallejo. But there was a guy that had a rock python, a hatchling, and he had it on a snake hook, and he's just, like, antagonizing this damn thing. And I'm like, you're just setting this animal and yourself up for just a bad life, dude. He's like, what? I'm like, you got to work with this animal. And he goes, well, how do you do that? It wants to bite me. I go, watch this. So I got the animal from him, and I got it off the hook, and I stayed fur enough way back that the animal would stretch to, like, the table. And then I was holding him, and then when the animal tried to, like, make a lock point or, like retics kind of do, where they wrap that into the tail around you, I would take him and swing him to take his mind off that, and then I put him back towards the table. And this animal instantly relaxed. It stopped hissing. It stopped trying to bite me and everything. And everybody there that was like in the group, like people came over. I wasn't paying attention, but people came over and they're just like, what the? Like they just saw this thing trying to kill the guy because the guy's sitting here, like messing. It's like, understand the animal. Like,
Yeah.
He had a big one and he told me, hey, well, how do I do this? And I'm like, I can show you, but I'm not going to share with all these people.
Yeah.
On the ground, snake hook, and there's a different way to do it. You know what I mean? To kind of present yourself and how to, work with this animal and kind of break that wall down. But the thing about rock pythons is they, most snakes is like, every few minutes they or seconds even, that brain resets. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You have to like start over. So with rock pythons to tame them, I mean, it takes a lot of time. And if you have one or two bad incidents, it's tough. Like a blood python. Drop a blood python, you're starting from square one. I had one. You know what I mean?
Right.
You start from square one of building that trust again. They don't, snakes tolerate you. I mean, I generally think that retics just love being out interacting with their keepers. Anybody who has them, I don't have to really go into detail on that. But most of these other snakes, they tolerate you.
Sure.
But I have a berm that he's an asshole, but he's just, I got him and I try to work with him, and I'm probably going to end up trying to find him a home just because I don't work with them like the amount of time I should. You know what I mean? And I've had a couple people ask about him, but I'm going to work with them a little bit more before I put him in somebody else's hands. But the retics have grabbed my interest, and they just, everything I want is in a reticulated python. People that want smaller ones, there's smaller ones out there. People that want bright ones, they're out there. People that want big ones, they're out there. It's in my opinion, it's like the perfect snake. There's so much experiences in them that it's, and the fact that they can like figure out a situation is, they don't just react. The food response. That's a reaction, but once you get that food response off, most retics don't just react. You know what I mean? You can feel them the way they act. I don't know. It's just hard to explain unless you personally interact with them on a daily basis.
Sure. Yeah, and then I have 4. Yeah, I have 4 retics, soon to be 5, and then probably soon to be 4 again. But they're all different too, and you really get to learn each one's personality. And I feel like the amount of personality that each one has is just more than I'm used to. Like I love boas, I really do. I love all my boas. But like the amount of personality that retics have and the difference, like the dramatic differences between one and the other is part of what keeps it so interesting. And like you said, there's literally something for everyone. Color, pattern, size. You know, there's so much variation in them.
And I tell people all the time that come to shows, and I don't know, people say I'm kind of an asshole about it, but they'll come to my table and go, oh, those are retics. They get 25 foot. And I go, oh, really? You have one? And they go, what do you mean? And I go, well, you say they get 25 foot. I mean, you must have one to say that. You know, and it kind of pissed me off because, I mean, the biggest retic I've ever seen was at, you know, El Segundo's place, and it was, you know, a 19.5-foot blonde. And the size of that animal was just like, holy shit. And it wasn't 20 foot. You know, Weston from Wildfire had that one that was measured, I think, at 21.5 Nefertiti. And I mean, he has her in a video next to, you know, he has her in a cage, you know, a big 10-foot enclosure from Jungle Cages, and he has Diamond, 16-foot girl, which is that's a big female. I mean, I think females are, you know, 13 to 16 foot really on average now. I think that's a good, you know, size for all the breeding, you know, whatever. But, you know, which is a big thing. And that's next to her. And she's just like, makes her look like a little.
I've seen that video. Yeah. And she looks like a 12-foot snake. She looks real small. Yeah.
And he has a video on his TikTok. I mean, you have to, like, you know, after the, you know, the viewership or whatever to watch it. But, you know, that snake is eating like a 50-pound goat. Like, I don't think people truly understand the size of a snake that's 20+ foot. I mean, it's hard. It's like, and I tell people all the time, how many 7-foot people are walking around our population?
I'm 6'4", and looking up at somebody who's 6'6", 6'7", they look huge to me. I'm not used to looking up at people, and just the difference between or like when I played basketball, people who are, you know, 6'7", 6'8", like looking up at them, they look huge. They make me feel like I'm small. So
how I explain it to my customers that are worried about, you know, their snake being 25 foot or over 20 foot is, you know, if you take the population of us as a population and how much of those are 7 foot, it's probably a pretty small number. Now, if you take the population of reticulated pythons that are in, say, let's say U.S., you know, because I know Bob ships like Europe and stuff like that. Let's just say U.S. And you take a percentage of those that are actually close to 20 foot or over, it's a small percentage. I guarantee it. But if you take the percentage of YouTube videos and social media videos, and I'm guilty of it too, that actually are of the big snakes, a higher percentage of the social media posts and YouTube videos are only of the bigger ones because people like to show off the big retics.
Yeah, it draws in attention for sure. It catches the eyes much more than a hatchling does, you know.
Every YouTube video I see of a retic are all big. Well, yeah, because nobody shows the, you know, the 11-year-old or, you know, that's only 12 foot. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm saying. I think there's more footage, there's more material out there of bigger ones than there is the average size. You know, and most people that just keep the retics and they aren't like breeding them and feeding them the extra food that it takes to breed stuff, you're gonna have a different sized animal normally than you would like a.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I know Brian Cusco has some big, I don't know how big his are, you know what I mean? But, you know,
I think he's one of the when I was over there one time, I think he said the biggest one is about 16 foot, which is still a big snake.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, I'm not knocking that at all. I mean, I have 38 mainlands, and I have 2 over 16 foot that weren't raised by me. I mean, you know, I mean,
right.
Bindi got to where she is from me. I mean, she was eating big food items. You know what I mean? She, you know, she just wants the food, and you can tell. I mean, she's just. And I was feeding her. I mean, I was feeding her probably. Realistically, she's probably eating 50 pounds of food a month. And then all of a sudden, she started getting fat, and I cut her food back.
Right.
Because to me, that means she's pretty much reached her length, and she's just going to pack on weight. Now, she'll probably grow, you know, length over the next 10 years. You know what I mean?
Right.
But her rapid, like, you know, full-size growth is pretty much probably met.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't mean to cut us off, but I have a dinner I have to get to.
I was thinking the same
And
thing.
we're coming up on about an hour and a half, but I mean, it's been a great time chatting for sure. So
ramble on. I apologize.
no worries, no worries. I do the same thing.
Man, but
we could go for another hour and a half easily.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. So where, if people are interested, where can they see your animals? How can they hit you up?
So I have a lot of stuff on Morph Market. I don't post everything all the time, but most of the stuff that's available is on Morph Market, and I do a lot of the shows. My next show is in San Mateo, California, August 19th and 20th. So,
and then are you Instagram and Facebook and everything? Is it all under?
Yeah, sorry, my phone is all jacked up.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, so Instagram, Facebook, everything. Instagram is Reptile Gyms. Facebook is Reptile Gym. Pretty much. Instagram is the easiest because, like Facebook, I have my personal and the business. So sometimes I don't see business messages, but Instagram, I'm pretty responsive on. So it's kind of like a messenger, really, for me. You know, it's like text message.
Yeah.
I have it set up on my phone to go off, but. Yeah, if anybody has any questions or anything, like I said, even the amount of animals that I have and keep on a daily basis, still don't say I'm an expert. But if I don't know it, I know people who can reach out and I can find out an answer, and I'm pretty certain of that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you for coming on. It was had a good time chatting with you. I can't wait to see my newest snake. Super stoked about that, but I appreciate you coming on, man. Thank everyone for jumping in the chat and stuff too.
Yeah, I appreciate it
so much, James.
What was that?
I didn't hear what you said, Russ. You
I
cut
just
out.
said thanks for coming on. Hopefully I can get out there next year and meet you all.
Yeah, man, we got to get you out to California.
Yeah, and Rami hit me up and he's like, why are you even doing my shows? Because I was a regular at his shows, but I just kind of told him what's going on, and he just said when you're ready, and then I kind of showed him the business change and the story and all that, and he said it's badass, and he's gonna buy a shirt from me. So I'll have a merch line too that I'm working on.
Oh, nice.
It'll go like this: Reptile Crew. John's gonna help me do it. So it'll be pretty cool. That way, somebody.
Yeah, I'll get one.
Somebody wants to support my company and my mission for the Retics, but can't have one, which I get. I'll have shirts and stuff like that. They can do it that way.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man. Well, everyone have a good night. It was nice chatting.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. I'll talk to you guys later.
All right, man.
Talk soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, man. Bye.